Hey Bears fans, I want to invite you to join the Noti Gang, aka to turn on video notifications so you never miss a show. So here's the deal. Less than 18% of our Bears Now subscribers have notifications turned on, which means you guys are probably missing a lot of videos. All you got to do is click the bell that's next to the subscribe button, then check all. You'll never miss a video. It'll come into your inbox on YouTube. It'll notify you every single time a video is posted up on the channel. So join the Noti Gang, never miss a show. And with that being said, let's get into today's episode of Chicago Bears Now. All right, let's start with Matt Nagy's presser from over the weekend. Lots of things he dove into with the media via Zoom. Let's start with the preseason. As you guys remember, last year, the Bears were one of a few teams that did not play any of their key starters in the preseason last year. That was the approach. They didn't want to risk injury. And Matt Nagy has now admitted that essentially that was a mistake. They should not have done that. He's learned from that. That will not be the approach this year. He says that they will play their starters in the preseason this year, which you kind of have to, at least at quarterback, right? When you're having a quarterback competition, which means you got to play the skill players around them as well. Here's Matt Nagy. He says that's one of the things that I look back at from last year that I'm not happy about, that I made a decision to do in the preseason. Number one, it's good for them to have it. And number two, it sets the mentality, and so that's not going to happen this year. We're going to be a physically tough team. We are going to be a mentally tough team. I look back and I say if I could change something in 2019, it would be playing our starters more in the preseason, 100%. So he's changing the approach. He feels like not playing the key guys in at least some snaps in the preseason last year probably set them back, especially early on in the year. And look, there's always some level of risk, but there's risk anytime these kids lace it up, whether it's at practice, whether it's in preseason, whether it's in a real game. It's football. It's a violent sport. You can get hurt at any time, and especially when you have a competition at quarterback, which we'll dive into in a sec, you got to play your key guys some in the preseason. How excited are you for the 2020 season? Scale it from 1 to 10. About a 69, right? Like, it's got to be more than 10. I'm getting bored. Producer Dylan's getting bored. I turned on, the Bundesliga over the weekend. Premier Soccer is all we're getting right now, live sports. Give me football, please. It can't get here soon enough. Scale it 1 to 10. If you put anything less than a 10, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably watching the wrong channel. I'm ready for some Bears football. I hope you guys are too. And I hope you guys are staying safe and doing your part, because that's how we're going to be able to play football. Go ahead and get yourself a Bears face covering at chatsports.com/BearsMask. You can get this 3-pack for just $25. Now, we have been selling these like crazy, so we're a little backordered right now, so it might take a little bit longer than normal, but the longer you wait, the longer you're going to have to wait for these to come in. So go ahead and order today, chatsports.com/BearsMask. All right, Matt Nagy also talked about the quarterback situation, saying, "Hey, the competition has not started. We're not gonna compete over Zoom, Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles, which obviously, right? Like, both guys are going to study the playbook, and they're going to do their individual workouts on their own and stay in shape, but." There's no organized activities right now between the teams, so they're not going to start a competition via the virtual offseason program. Hopefully, they get back to the facilities very, very soon. Obviously, once training camp rolls around, that's once the competition will really kick into gear. But as of now, no competition. Foles, Trubisky, they're continuing to stay in shape on their own, and they're studying the playbook, and they're having these meetings with the coaches. But you can't have a legitimate competition virtually. That's just common sense, and I think Matt Nagy would be foolish to suggest it has already begun. You look at these two side by side. We've talked about this several times. One of these guys is going to have to go and take this job because, look, Nick Foles, bit of a journeyman, been a backup more often than he's been a starter, and Mitchell Trubisky took a step back last year. So, this job is up for grabs. Here's Nagy more on saying that this competition has not begun yet, but that there will still be a competition, saying there's no competition going on right now over Zoom. The beauty of what is happening right now is there's so much feedback and forth and discussions and interactive and what the coaches like and what the players like, what the coaches like, what the quarterbacks like, different ideas and so to say. So they're basically just talking about, hey, I see this when I watch this film study or that, and, playbook input, stuff like that. There's not a whole lot you can do right now as far as these two guys actually competing. Obviously, Tyler Bray's on the roster as well. I still project Nick Foles to be the starter, but it is going to be a competition if you listen to the Bears higher-up brass, whether it's the coaching staff or Ryan Pace, the general manager. One of these guys is going to have to take the job. So, who will start? Type F for Nick Foles, type T for Mitchell Trubisky. I swear you guys are 50-50 split. I'm going to compile all the data every time I've asked this question and see which way you guys are leaning. I think it's Nick Foles, but hey, if you're riding with Mitchell Trubisky, go ahead and type T. I want you guys to go ahead and subscribe to the channel while you're at it. Hit that big red subscribe button. The link, youtube.com/BearsNow. You can go ahead and share that with a friend. Tell them, hey, this guy does pretty cool Bears videos. We just crossed 8,000 subs. Channel goal, get to 10K as soon as possible. Let's get there, May 17th? Let's get there within a month. All right, can we do that? June 15th, get to 10K? All right, that's the goal. Let's get to 10K as soon as possible. More subs equals more videos up on the channel. Go ahead and hit that big red button. All right, USA Today, this was interesting. Nate Davis, who writes for them, not former Ball State quarterback Nate Davis, for those of you college football truthers. Different Nate Davis. He did win predictions for all 32 teams. He's got the Bears at 3-13. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say I think the Bears are a 13-win powerhouse this year or anything like that, but he had a couple of other teams with 3 wins, and only the Giants at 2-14 were worse. The Bears were a disaster last year and still went 8-8 against a first-place schedule. They went 8-8 and they were third in the NFC North, and they had major issues. Trubisky didn't play well. He then missed time with injury. He returned, still didn't play well. The offensive line was a mess. The defense didn't perform as well last year. How could you project that the Bears are going to win just three games when the schedule's a little bit easier this year? And I don't really think this team got worse in any areas, and it still won 8 games last year with a ton of problems. And then you look at this offseason, look, at quarterback, you've created competition by bringing in Nick Foles. That's a positive. Tight end, last year, one of the worst tight end groups I've ever seen in NFL history. It was a joke. You added Jimmy Graham. Sure, he's not great, but he's by far better than what you had last year. And you drafted Cole Kmet. Those are 2 competent tight ends. Pass rush, you signed Robert Quinn. You drafted Travis Gibson. You lost Leonard Floyd, but he stinks anyway. They didn't really get worse in any area. I would have liked them to address offensive line more. Maybe they still will, but at worst, that's a push. You added Juan Castillo, and your offensive line group is pretty much all back besides Kyle Long, but he only played in 4 games last year anyway. I don't see how you can predict a 3-13 record. This is a top 5 defense and an offense that has some potential. I think this is a 7-win team at worst. I would be surprised if they fell off a cliff like that. But I'll leave it to you guys. We don't listen to Nate Davis here on Chicago Bears Now. You guys listen to me, and I listen to you guys as well. That's what makes the channel so special. Predict the Bears record this season. I did my game-by-game video predictions video earlier this past week. I had the Bears at 10-6. I think they're in that 9-10 win range. You go ahead and let me know what you guys think down below. All right, let's talk about the running back spot. I think there's a running back 3 competition as we get kind of to the end of the roster here on how, you look at this thing when the 53/55-man roster breaks down. I think there's an open comp for that 3rd spot. Obviously, David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen are going to make the roster. You've got Ryan Nall in the mix. It's kind of a running back-fullback hybrid. UDFAs, Artavis Pierce, and Napoleon Maxwell are in the mix as well. Chicago could carry 4 if Nall is designated as a fullback. I don't think they'll carry 4 pure running backs if they consider Nall that. I think Artavis Pierce has a good shot. I like what he brings to the table. Maxwell's more of a physical downhill runner, whereas Pierce is kind of a hybrid, kind of a poor man's Montgomery where he can run and he can catch. Before we dive into the story a little bit more, do you guys want a 53/55-man roster projection video? Type Y for yes, type N for no. The reason I put 53/55, it's a little confusing. If we get enough yeses, I'll explain it on that video. It could take 3 minutes right now, so I don't want to dive into it now. But if you want a roster projection video, go ahead and type Y down below, and we will do one very, very soon. Now let's compare Pierce and Maxwell, the 2 UDFAs. Fairly similar college stats. Obviously, Pierce was slightly better in the yards per carry, has a little bit more wiggle and burst, more speed. Also a much better receiving option. Maxwell kind of a more physical bruising back at about 215, 220 pounds. Both good college players. Pierce actually replaced Ryan Nall at Oregon State after he left. Nall has kind of become a fan favorite because of what he's done in the preseason, but the reality, guys, is the preseason doesn't matter, and Ryan Nall, his career in games that matter, 2 carries for 8 yards. Like, we just don't really know what he is. If he was something special, he would have gotten more opportunities. Sure, those numbers are great, but again, you're talking about 3rd and 4th string competition. Ryan Nall has not done anything in a game that matters. So we'll be curious to see how it plays out. I think Artavis Pierce has a really good chance. I like him. I've watched a little bit of his tape. He's got good speed. He's a good, complete back that can catch the football as well. We'll see what Nall and Maxwell bring to the table. I'll be very curious to see if Chicago carries 3 backs or 4 backs this season.